What's going on? Welcome to another live quarantine TV edition of Real Fans Real Talk in conjunction with the
What's
Sanchez
going on?
Show. Welcome to another live quarantine TV edition of Real Fans Real Talk in conjunction. Y'all know I got to start off the show like this. If I don't start off the show like this, something ain't right.
One day, Trip, you'll close out that other page with the YouTube in the background.
I was trying to share the link so they know when we on live and they can just hit us up. I see they already starting to
Ooh, that's what I like to see.
early in the game. That's what I'm talking about. I appreciate y'all rocking out with us. I know we started a little bit late today, but we got a whole lot to get to. For everybody that is on the live right now, man, y'all drop a comment for us. Let us know because we got a whole lot of playoff football to get to today, plus some NBA news and some unfortunate news that we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the program. But before we jump into all of the sports, let me introduce my co-host, my brother, the one and only Eric Sanchez, legend in two games. What's up, man?
What's really good, man? You know what time it is? The pregame show. I'm always excited for us to get going right before kickoff. We appreciate everybody who's tuning in, man. We're gonna go right up until that 1:00 game starts.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You see what's going on right now. You see you see I got the Bing Moore parlay going on right here in the background. You see the Ravens is back there. I know we down one very important piece, but I'm still gonna rock with my guys and support them. I know Aiden is watching right now. So shout out to Aiden and Chris. He told me I better shout him out this week or he's not gonna give me the good picks this week.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Aiden tried to give us some inside info last week, but again, we trying to avoid any insider trading scandals. So we can't let everybody know the picks that we talked about. You got to contact us in the DM for that, man.
We got to because especially here in New York, man, we're gonna talk about that a little bit later too. They done shattered their damn records as far as gambling goes, and it's only the first year that sports betting has been allowed. So we're gonna get to those numbers a little bit later. But we had a couple of wild card matches that pretty much panned out the way that we kind of thought they would. We got to start with the game of the night though. The Jacksonville Jaguars at home versus the LA Chargers. I picked them to win the game. I did not see the game going the way it went. I'm not sure if you did either, Eric. But to come back from the third largest deficit in NFL playoff history and to win that game, I have to tip my hat to a couple of guys. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, and Eric. And this is your area of expertise here. We have to talk coaching, and I'm going to let you start with this one and talk to me about Doug Peterson and the job that he had to do in order to overcome the third largest deficit in NFL playoff history.
Well, I'm so happy that we're starting there with coaching because when we made our picks yesterday, I said the Chargers had the more talented team, but the Jaguars had the clear advantage in coaching, and it showed yesterday. I thought what Doug Peterson said at the half was perfect. They were down 27-7. And when the reporter asked him what adjustment you have to do, we got to stay calm. We got to stay within our game plan. We got to clean up the turnovers. We got to stay within our game plan. So they didn't stop running the ball. Travis Etienne went over 100 yards yesterday, even though, again, they trailed for at least 10 points for most of that game. They stood with their running game. They stood patient. They never lost confidence in Trevor Lawrence, I think, which was key. They kept saying, he's our franchise, and we got to find a way to get him going. I thought the biggest adjustment in the game, and that for some reason the Chargers never figured it out, was that the Jaguars went no huddle in the second half, right from their first possession of the second half, went no huddle, didn't allow the Chargers to make any substitutions on defense, and then they just picked away at the middle of the field on the Chargers, which really prevented them from being able to blitz Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence didn't beat him with his legs. It was purely with his arms, but it was that no huddle offense in the second half that allowed him to get a rhythm and get back in the game and then ultimately win.
Absolutely. And, because Eric and I, we generally text back and forth during the games. One thing that we both pointed out with the Chargers was they went away from their go-to consistency guy, and that's Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler started off that game amazing, had the 2 touchdowns early. Um, but they stopped going to him. How do you stop going to a guy who's arguably your MVP of the team this season? He pretty much does everything you need. He can catch out of the backfield. He can score touchdowns that way. He can run the football. He can score touchdowns that way. He started off the game well, and they went away from the run game. I'm confused as to how you get that type of a lead and then you go away from the run game. Once you get that type of lead, that's when you're supposed to continue with the run game. I was upset because I had on one of my tickets, and I said to myself, I'm not about to jump out the window and take no crazy rush yardage because depending on how this game goes, because I was expecting a shootout. I took Ekeler for 40 yards rushing. He was at 35 for most of the game, and then late when they started to run him, then he lost a couple of yards. So I think he finished at like 31 yards.
At 35. Yo, I did too. I sent a message. This is how bad it was yesterday. I sent the message to Will Gordon, right? Shout out to Will. I had a ticket trip I picked Eckler to score 2 touchdowns,
Oh my goodness.
to run for 40 yards, and to catch for 25 yards. So when he scores the 2 touchdowns early, I'm thinking, oh, this is in the bank because they just going to keep feeding him now. And this dude finished with 5 yards receiving and 35 yards rushing. A disgusting play calling performance by Mike Lombardi.
I don't get it. I don't understand it. And again, I don't because of the way the game starts. To be honest with you, I don't even know if Mike Williams playing in this game would have actually made a difference because of the way they got the lead in the beginning, and then what they went to once they were up and had the lead, which was a bunch of nothing, basically. So I don't even know if Mike Williams played. We were getting at coach for playing Mike Williams in a meaningless week 18 game just yesterday. But I honestly don't know if he makes a difference because of what went down. I listen, 4 interceptions is horrible, but when you come back like that, it negates a lot of that. Plus, I will say this: 2 of those interceptions that Trevor Lawrence threw, tip passes, it happens, but you got to be held accountable because you did throw the football. But when I watch this game and I'm watching this early and I see how big the league got early and how much time was left in the game, I said Jacksonville still has a chance to cover the spread. That was my first mind thing because I took them at the +2.5. So I was like, Jacksonville still has a chance to cover this spread. And as the game goes on, I'm like, well, hold on. Chargers ain't been really doing nothing this whole second half. They haven't really been. As a matter of fact, realistically, towards the second half of the second quarter, they pretty much went flat from that point on. Justin Herbert, after he had the 1 passing touchdown, he wasn't able to move the football. They did not stick to the run. They got outplayed in that second half, and it got ugly in that second half. The momentum shift, missed the field goal. Jaguars just pretty much had their way with the Chargers in the second half, and then for them to come down at the end of that game and to be able to win, with the field goal, you gotta love it, man. Congratulations to Jacksonville. I will say this though, I think the buck stops here. I think that's how the expression goes. Because I can't put my faith in him as much respect as I gained for Trevor Lawrence and those guys this season. I ain't gonna say you're gonna go up into Kansas City and take my man Patrick Mahomes out. I can't see that happening. So, but congratulations to them on a big win.
Yeah, I mean, you picked the Jags yesterday when we talked about the game. Gary, that was in the comment section yesterday, had also liked the Jags. He has them going to the AFC Championship game. We talked about that yesterday as well, and we don't agree. But so many things took place in yesterday's game that I just I felt super disappointed in the Chargers. As you mentioned, they did go flat. They had 27 points at the half. They finished with 30. They did nothing in the second half of that game. And like you said, pretty much from midway through the second quarter, when they could have delivered the knockout blow, they never did. They allowed the Jaguars to hang around. That's the first part of it. The second part of it, one of the things that's going to get overlooked, and I'm sure somebody will mention it during Sports Talk tomorrow or maybe Tuesday, they were a +5 in turnovers. The Jaguars turned the ball over 5 times, 4 interceptions, and then the muff punt that set up another score. that's got to be, I know this is the third biggest comeback of all time, but that's got to be the first time in playoff history that you are a +5 in turnover differential and lose the game. It's almost unheard of. And to give people reference, in the Niner game, the Niners were +1. And they showed the stat that the 49ers, when they're +1 and even in turnovers, they're damn near undefeated under Kyle Shanahan. They don't lose a game when they just have a one advantage in turnovers. The Chargers had a +5. Those were possessions that were short fields for you, that you had an opportunity to knock the Jaguars out of this game early. They didn't. I don't know why they didn't keep going back to Eckler. I know his per rush yardage didn't look great, but again, you're trying to kill clock. You're trying to keep the Jaguars on the sideline. The Jaguars obviously are desperate. They're going no huddle. So you got to keep them on the sideline and allow your defense to get a little bit of rest. You can't have these drives where you're going 3 and out, or you're only burning a minute off the clock. The clock is your friend. Even to start the second half, I texted Will Gordon at the time and I said, you got to put him away now. Don't let him linger. The score is 27-7 coming into the second half. The first possession of the second half goes to the Chargers. The Chargers only held the ball for 2.5 minutes. There was no type of rhythm or consistency in their offense. And that's what you needed at that moment to put the game away. Also, as I mentioned, and I texted you as well, Trip, the Chargers led this game for pretty much, 58 minutes of the game, down to the last, right at the end, right? But for 55 minutes of this game, the Chargers were up 10 plus points. Yet somehow they threw the ball 20 more times than they ran the ball. So who the hell is play calling for you that you don't realize we have a lead, we have an opportunity to put this team away. More importantly, we have a chance to kill some of this clock. They never did any of that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. No excuse. No excuse for you to have the third largest lead in NFL playoff history and to lose that game in the manner that you did. You're right, Eric. Austin Eckler's yards per carry were down, but that don't mean you stop running the football. You you have to keep this. This is one of the top running backs in football. I can't put Austin Eckler any lower than 5 on the list of running backs in this league. The season that he's had, unbelievable season, this year. You have to stick to your guns, stick to that running game. You are in the lead. You are dominating this first half. Your defense came out. Shout out to Asante Samuel Jr., a true legacy kid. 3 interceptions in his playoff debut. The defense in that first half, gave you enough to hold on to this thing and come out with the win. And in your words, Eric, you guys, y'all wet the bed. y'all had the opportunity, every opportunity.
It's normally a stronger word we use, but
Yeah.
there's a family program. So
Yeah,
yes,
Aiden just dropped a comment in there, so I didn't.
Shout out to Aiden. Yeah, but no, you're right, and this falls on the leadership of the Chargers, not just Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley is a terrible coach. We always talk about it. Coaching matters. No, he is, Trip. We got to call it what it is, man. Like, in these moments, you cannot lose that game when you're +5 in turnovers. You just can't. It just can't happen. You got to be more creative. You got to have a better conversation at the half and say, look, this is the game plan. We're up 20 at the half. We got to put these guys away right now. So either we're going to run our 10 best plays coming right out of the half and try to really kill them and kill any type of noise the crowd is making and put them away right now. And you don't have to hand the ball to Austin Eckler. You could do screen passes. You could use him out the backfield as a receiver and allow him to get going that way, because the Jaguars were loading up on first down and blitzing it, knowing it's 1st and 10. They're probably going to run the ball to try to stay ahead of the chains and kill some clock. So you use screen passes, you use quick passes to your running back. There's a lot of things you could do there. But also, I'm super disappointed, man. Joey Bosa, you got to be a leader on this team.
Oh my God.
You can't be getting unsportsmanlike penalties, 2 of them, and then lining up offsides on another critical drive. I was super disappointed in him, and I'm surprised he didn't get thrown out of that game. They try to justify it and say the second unsportsmanlike wasn't directed towards the ref, but I'm super surprised he was not thrown out of that game.
Yeah, disappointed, because when you be talking about one of the best defensive players in football, what he means to that team, the fact that he was even able to play in this game, and he played a good game. But from the mental standpoint, brother, you have to do a lot better. You cost your team on several crucial plays that could have sealed the deal for you guys. But because of I don't know whatever was going on in your mind, the fact that you needed to say certain things and do certain things, you you kind of cost your team this game because the Chargers could actually, if one of the if you stop one of these drives, that's it. This game is over. But because you get those penalties in crucial moments that allow them to keep extending these drives, they were able to come back and ultimately win this game with a field goal. Yeah, man, super disappointed. He's gonna have to do better moving forward. I mean, the defense in general, I don't know. We saw two different defenses in the first half and the second half of that football game. I don't know wherever those guys was at in the first half. They went on vacation. Maybe they went because Cliff Kingsbury. I heard he bought a one-way ticket to what was it, Tajikistan or Taiwan? One of the
Thailand. He going to Thailand on a one way.
yeah, he went on he bought a one-way ticket. So I don't know, Eric, if you was involved in that decision making because you kept calling him out or not. But he's going. I don't know if with that, maybe that's where the defensive players went to, or maybe they was on that boat that Odell Beckham Jr. was on. Maybe they got to that boat. So I can't call it. But they disappeared in that second half. And
It was that no huddle offense, man. It really was that no huddle offense
they were tired.
because they gassed out and the Jaguars knew it, and it was a lot of confusion. I mean, that pass to Zay Jones at the time when they're down, I think 30-13,
Was the
and
40
he is
something like that?
he is wide open. Like no defender even ran with him. They were so confused. Again, the no huddle offense kept them off balance in the second half. It didn't allow them to substitute and bring in certain packages because on third down they really love to use Derwin James as a slot corner,
Mm-hmm.
to give him the ability to blitz or play the tight end or play the slot receiver. They
Absolutely.
couldn't really mix it up defensively because they're going no huddle. So we got to stay in our base. We got to stay with our base guys out here. And it was causing so much confusion. The Jaguars really just ate them up in the second half.
Yeah. No, listen, no excuses. Um, the early game yesterday, storybook season for Geno Smith. Broke Russell Wilson's record for yards in the season, 4,000 plus yards he threw for this season. Was able to win and get his team into the playoffs. You gotta love that. I'm sure he's secured because the Seahawks have already said they're looking to bring Geno Smith back. So I'm sure he secured the bag for his family and his future moving forward because I can't see him signing anything less than a 3-year deal, really a 4-year deal. With this contract that he's gonna be up with for the Seahawks. But as myself, you and Will Gordon said yesterday, the 49ers were just too much for them. And this was another game that was kind of the tale of two halves as well, because the first half looked kind of competitive, and I'm watching the game like, all right, hold on. Y'all supposed to be running over, over these dudes right now. And but then in the second half, Will Gordon's favorite quarterback, Brock Purdy, he stepped his game all the way up. We were wondering if and when we would see this type of an offensive performance from Brock Purdy, because we know with the 49ers, they have one of the top defenses, and they might have the best collection of weapons on the offensive side of the football than any other team in football. And the low point would actually be the quarterback. Not that Brock Purdy has played bad, because he's played very well in the 7 straight games that they've won this season, but we haven't seen him throw for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns yet. We saw him throw for more than that. We saw him throw for 4 touchdowns and almost 400 yards in yesterday's game against the Seahawks. But pretty much what we thought was going to happen happened. What was your take on the game, Eric?
Yeah, I thought it was a really competitive game for about 2.5 quarters. Right around that end of the third quarter is when the 49ers kind of blew the doors open on it. But listen, kudos to Seattle. We knew they really weren't on the level with San Fran. They put up a fight early. I thought Geno and them showed a lot of heart. They down 10-0 right away in that game. And it's teetering on the point of just being a blowout because McCaffrey's wide open. Elijah Mitchell's open. I mean, Purdy was missing some passes. A couple times, Debo literally was covering himself. Nobody was on Debo, just running through the middle of the field, and nobody's there. So it was teetering at a point where this could have just been over very quickly, but they fought back. DK Metcalf really came to play yesterday. Kenneth Walker came to play. And then Nick Bosa makes the play that changes everything. The Niners are up 6. Seattle is driving. Seattle has an opportunity to take the lead late in the third quarter. Nick Bosa gets the fumble recovery, the strip sack fumble recovery. And from that point on, Brock Purdy was just amazing. And the Niners were exactly, in the words of the great coach Dennis Green, the Niners were exactly who we thought they were. They're super explosive. They can beat you so many different ways. We're talking about a team that put up 40 points yesterday. Kittle didn't even have a big game, Trip. Kittle
Yeah.
was quiet for most of the game. So, you got the running backs, you got those receivers, Brandon Ayuk, Debo turns short passes into touchdowns. Brandon Ayuk beats man coverage all the time. Then you got those running backs. The 49ers yesterday made a statement, in my opinion. They let us know Eagles might be the number 1 seed, but we're probably the best team. And if Brock Purdy's going to play like that, I don't think they can be beat. I'm just throwing that out there right now.
Yeah, because as good as the Eagles defense was this season, if you tell me to pick a defense, I got to go with that 49ers defense, right? Again, as good as uh you know AJ Brown and Devontae Smith were this season, when you add up Debo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, uh I don't know. I think I may take that over Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, and Miles Sanders. I might have to. And then if you add in, like you said, if you telling me Brock Petty is gonna play like this, I don't know who can beat this team. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think there's a team in the AFC or NFC that can beat the 49ers if Brock Petty is going to have multiple games like this game on this playoff run. I don't know what team is going to be able to beat the San Francisco 49ers. I'm sorry for the rest of the league, but I don't know who is going to beat this team.
Yeah, I mean, it's the weapons. It's a combination of things, though. But it's the weapons and Kyle Shanahan and the way he uses them. In
Yes.
yesterday's game alone, we saw Debo run the ball. We saw Debo catch the ball. We saw McCaffrey line up at receiver. We saw him line up at running back. And then they can kill you for 4 or 5 plays with McCaffrey, and then bring Elijah Mitchell in, who on most teams would be a starting running back. And then
Yes.
now you got the fresh legs of Elijah Mitchell running around. So I think they're super tough. Kittle gives them another dynamic as well, because he's a guy, again, that if we want to keep him in the block and almost treat him as an additional lineman, we can do that. But if you don't have the coverage skills out there, whether it be linebacker or safety who can cover him, then we're going to just let him release out in routes and then kill you over the middle of the field. Brandon Ayuk is the guy that no one talks about. Brandon Ayuk had over 1,000 yards receiving and 78 catches this year. On most teams, he might be the number 1 guy. And
Yes.
this is the guy who is, on most people, when people list the pecking order of the great players the Niners have, people forget about Brandon Ayuk. So as long as Brock Purdy ain't turning the ball over, they're super tough to beat. And as you mentioned, I don't know if there's a team in the league that really matches up with the 49ers. It comes down to Brock Purdy. He can't turn the ball over. But if he plays a clean game like he did yesterday, I don't know how many teams are going to be able to match up with the 49ers.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Um, really quick before we get to the Bing Bong parlay, I do need to shout out Johnny Bravo, Jonathan Jimenez. He is now a 2-time winner of the Real Fans Real Talk Fantasy Football League. He went to the finals and beat a good friend of ours, Real Lil from Real Lil TV. Shout out to Real Lil TV, made it to the finals as well. But ultimately, Jonathan got the job done and won his second Real Fans Real Talk fantasy football league. So big shout out to him on that one. And now on to the Bing Bong parlay. You see, I got one half of the Bing Bong parlay right now on top of my head. But we're gonna start with the 1 o'clock game, the first game of today. Buffalo versus a banged up Miami Dolphins team. Eric, talk to me about this game. And is there any chance that Miami wins this game?
Well, there's a chance. There's definitely a chance, because Josh Allen could get caught in traffic and he may not make it to the game. But other than that, there is no chance. Skylar Thompson, just get him up out of there. Don't worry about it. Buffalo, they're not even gonna have to work hard in this game. They probably gonna beat them by at least 2 touchdowns, maybe even 2 touchdowns and a field goal. Miami, this is a tough matchup for them. It would have been a tough matchup even with Tua. Let's keep it honest. Buffalo is one of the most complete teams in the league. They got an MVP caliber quarterback. The defense is a top 5 defense, and Buffalo is going to be a raucous atmosphere as it always is. So for Miami, you're up against it. The best you can hope for if you're Miami is that you get off to a fast start. Maybe you get a special teams play. Maybe you have some sort of fake punt or fake field goal that lands something for you. And then you got to hope. We know Josh Allen dealt with the elbow injury earlier. You got to hope that maybe Josh Allen throws 1 or 2 errant passes that keep you in the game. But at some point in the second or third quarter of this game, Buffalo's offense is going to get rolling, and we're going to see Buffalo do what they normally do, which is put up 3 or 4 touchdowns back to back. And then before you know it, what might have been a 10-6 game turns into a 35-6 game, 37-6 game, and then it's over at that point.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, I mean, the Bills might as well have had a bye week this week. The Dolphins not having Tua, not even having the backup quarterback, in there. Going with the third string quarterback again against this Bills team, which is an elite team. This is a legitimate Super Bowl contending team. I want to say one of the 4 legit Super Bowl contending teams in this playoffs. I just without Tua playing, if Tua was playing, I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, you know, I think the Dolphins have a decent chance in this game because that offense is very potent, but you need your quarterback under center. I cannot see in any way, shape, or form a third string quarterback coming into this game and putting up numbers against this Bills defense, even without them having Von Miller on the defensive side of the football. I just think the Bills will be too much. Ultimately, I think this game winds up looking a lot like the San Francisco 49ers versus the Seattle Seahawks game that we watched yesterday. That's pretty much it. Shout out to those guys though for making the playoffs. Even with having to deal with with Tua being out with the concussions this season. I'm just gonna say, since this is probably going to be the last time we speak about the Dolphins this season, I will say this: Tua, please, please take care of yourself and don't just be too willing just to get up in there and play. I know this is a game that you love, but when you take those kind of hits, you really got to think about sitting down for a little while, especially when you're talking about 3 concussions in the same football season. You need to think about taking a little bit of a break and be more cautious with your career. Do not let these teams dictate what goes on with your livelihood, because at the end of the day, if you can't play this game that you love anymore, you're gonna be by your damn self. Ain't gonna be no, that's it. Once you can't play, you can't play. That's it. It's over. So
Yeah, I mean, for the Dolphins today, really, they're going to need their defense to play above their head, and they're going to need their defense to keep them in it. And that's why I say maybe early it starts off competitive, and then at some point Buffalo will get rolling and put this game away. But long term for Tua, you're absolutely right. This is why I didn't want them in the playoffs. We've talked about it several times, Trip. I was hoping they didn't make the playoffs, not because I had anything against Miami, just because I knew that the conversation would start up about, well, could Tua be back in time? Could Tua play at any point during these playoffs? I don't want to see him play football for the rest of this season, no matter what happens with the Dolphins. Even if they shock the world today and win, I don't want to see him play. And then I think this offseason, there has to be a serious conversation about his future and what the plan will be. He's a young man. I expect him to play at some point next season, but there's got to be some sort of plan in place that, hey, look, you're up against it at this point. And another concussion, we may have to have a serious conversation about you retiring. When greats like Steve Young and Troy Aikman retired, they both were at 5 or more concussions. And those were the ones that were diagnosed. That's not counting the ones when they really got their clock cleaned and maybe it wasn't diagnosed as a concussion. So with Tua, we know he had 3 this year alone. There's also a young man who had a serious hip injury coming out of college. At some point, you've got to protect the player from himself. At some point, you've got to let him know, listen, this is it. One more, and we got to have serious conversations about life after football.
Exactly. And those guys that you mentioned, that was at a different time where, they definitely wasn't calling them concussions out like they do now.
Yeah.
And that was in the going into the prime years of their career. We're talking about. I mean, Tua's been in the league. This is his third year now of being in the league, and you have three concussions in one season, which is in itself is unheard of. And again, not just the team, but I mean, this is something that the league is really going to have to spearhead, take control of, and say, and we spoke about this before, but I stand on it. I think, if you have one concussion, I think it should be a 2 week minimum before you come back. If you have two concussions, I think it should be a 4 week minimum before you're allowed to come back. And if you have a third concussion, that's it. Your season is over.
Yeah, the league is going to have to implement something similar to that. It's going to have to be some sort of guidelines that state, you can only have one concussion within a certain amount of time. Because again, we're talking three concussions in a 3-month time frame, right? The
Yeah.
season started in September. By December, he had three concussions. So, and he got his first concussion week two. They misdiagnosed week two's concussion
Yep.
and let him come back on a short week. And from that Sunday to Thursday, where most players normally wouldn't play at all with any type of injury, let alone a concussion, he was back on the field. And then we saw the scary one where he started having a seizure on the field.
Yeah.
So at some point, someone's going to have to save him from himself. Somebody's going to have to sit him down and say, look, this got to be the rules. And whether it be another concussion, whether it be some sort of traumatic injury in general. Because again, it's not just the concussions with Tua. We're talking about a serious hip injury that it took him a year to recover from coming out of college. Will Gordon's in the building. We were waiting for Will to show up. I see you, Will.
Will Gordon is on the Fire Staley campaign early in the morning. I see. I know that was a tough loss for you, my brother. I'm sorry. I'm always pulling for our teams unless they playing each other, but I'm always pulling for our teams to get the dub. Unfortunately, that coaching mismatch. We saw that.
I hate Will. I don't know if you saw at the beginning. I said it though. I hate the fact that we were right in what we said, that the Chargers were the more talented team, but the Jaguars were the better coach team. And it showed again yesterday. Coaching matters, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Eric, second half of the Bing Bong Parlay, my Giants will be going back to Minnesota for their wild card matchup. That's going to be the 425 game. Clearly, I would not ever pick against the Giants, and obviously some of that is my Giants fandom just will not allow me to pick against the Giants, no matter what the scenario is. I'm still gonna pick the Giants, but in this situation, I actually do legitimately feel like the Giants have a good chance of winning this game. I've spoke about it several times. The Vikings struggled late in this season. They even I know they got the win against the Giants a couple of weeks ago, but even with that game, that was a very close game all the way up into the end of that game. And I just feel like I feel like the Giants and my main man now, head coach and hopefully coach of the year, Brian Dable. I think he can he can get some things done today, and I think the Giants still a win, man, and we can get at least one victory.
I think the Giants have a legitimate shot. I think they are truly a live underdog. The line is stood at 3 all week because I think most people feel like these teams are pretty evenly matched. I mean, the Vikings might have a little bit more talent on offense, but I think the Giants might have a little bit more talent on defense. So it is a pretty even matchup. I think the Giants hang tough in this game, man. But I keep coming back to one thing I've said several times that when we talk about the Giants this year, the Giants seem to struggle to get above 20 points. And this is one of them scenarios where the Vikings are just explosive enough to get above it. I think the Giants lose on a last-second field goal, though. I think what the Vikings have done all year shows again. The Giants will hang tough. I think the Giants will put a real scare in the Vikings, but I see the Vikings winning on a last-second field goal. I'm going to say 23-21. I think the Giants cover today, so it's safe to put them in a Bing Bong parlay because, we got the Knicks and Nets playing today as well, and I like both their chances to win. I always love throwing the Knicks and Nets in the Bing Bong parlay as well. But I think the Giants hang tough, man, and I like Saquon to have a big day today. I could see Saquon going for $125 today.
I feel like he got to put the stamp on that new contract.
Yeah.
And I think we see that today. But either way, I do think it's gonna be a close game. I'm very, I'm very excited, man, because I haven't been this excited about the Giants, in a little while. But to see what they've been able to accomplish this season, going into this game, and me looking at this game as with them actually having a chance to win this game moving forward. Obviously we know who's left as far as the remaining teams go. But if listen, man, I'm already happy. But if we can get a playoff win in, I'll be
If,
ecstatic.
well, if you guys win today, and shout out to Will. Will said Giants win Daboll better than O'Connell, and I agree. Daboll is a better coach. Daboll is the coach of the year in my opinion. We've been saying that since about week 8, right, Trip?
Yeah,
Um, so I do like the Giants there, but I also think this is kind of a defining moment for Kirk Cousins. This is kind of it for him in terms of career. Like we're gonna judge him based off this. If
yep,
if he can't win this matchup after winning 13 games and being the number 2 seed, then it is what it is. You were a stat quarterback who looked good in the regular season but can never do anything when it mattered. He doesn't really have any significant playoff moments. His only one is the time the Vikings did go into New Orleans and beat Drew Brees. But
yeah.
other than that, Kirk Cousins doesn't have a playoff moment. This has to be his playoff moment. However, if the Giants were to win, we predicted the future a couple weeks ago, Trip. You put the clip out. The Giants would go to Philly. And we talked about that going into week 18, that the Giants would have to be strategic in that matchup because they could see Philly very soon. So with the Seahawks losing yesterday, the Giants are the lowest remaining seed. If the Giants pull off the upset today, they're going to Philly next week.
Listen, I look forward to it. There's gonna be a lot of trash talking if that does happen. But let me not look ahead. We got to
You
get
got to
through this game first. And
finish your breakfast. Finish your
exactly.
breakfast.
So listen, Giants, y'all know what I got to do today, man. Make us proud. New York need that win, man. We need a playoff win on the football side of things because we haven't had one of those in a long time. So big shout out to the Giants. Next up on the agenda, uh, the Bing More parlay, Baltimore and the Cincinnati Bengals will go at it tonight for the third time this season. Obviously, we know by now, no Lamar Jackson in this game. Um, I'm still gonna support my guys, but I do understand no Lamar Jackson means no W in tonight's Sunday night matchup, which sucks because I do feel like if Lamar Jackson was in this game, the Ravens definitely have a good chance of winning this game. They beat them early in the season with Lamar Jackson playing. I think they could have got the job done again. Now all I can do is hope that Baltimore does the right thing with Lamar Jackson's new contract.
That's all that's left to talk about when it comes to Lamar and Baltimore. Their season ends tonight. We know that. Um, the Bengals are moving on. The Bengals will be playing Buffalo next week in the matchup we all expect. Damar Hamlin will be there next week. I'm pretty sure he will be.
And we spoke
Um,
about that yesterday
yeah,
too.
we spoke about that yesterday, but they're going on. Baltimore for them, it's going to be a tough off season. They're going to have to figure some things out. And Baltimore, honestly, we keep it a buck. They've regressed a little bit. From when Lamar won MVP a few seasons ago to where we're at now, they've only got one playoff victory under their belt. Harbaugh might be on the hot seat. There's probably some changes in the works there if Lamar is to stay.
And they still have not went out and got a legitimate number one wide receiver. And that's a big problem. Again, kudos to those guys. And this is why I do think ultimately they get the Lamar Jackson signing done just because they did extend Roquan Smith the 5 years, $100 million contract. So I do think they get it done. But you guys have to get a number one receiver. It is crazy that every year we keep talking about this, and every year we see what happens when one of these young quarterbacks gets a true number one wide receiver. I've said it many a times. We saw the difference in Josh Allen pre Stephon Diggs, post Stephon Diggs. We literally have been arguing the past couple of weeks about whether or not Jalen Hurts is the MVP of this league. And what was the big difference in Jalen Hurts last season and Jalen Hurts this season? He has a true number one wide receiver in AJ Brown. So you got I don't know how many different ways I can say this. Y'all have to go out and get that number one receiver. That is the only way the Ravens are going to get back to a Super Bowl and ultimately win a Super Bowl is if you get a receiver for Lamar Jackson and now resign Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
That's,
and
that's,
that's where it gets tricky because you're going to pay Lamar. He's going to be a top 4 quarterback in terms of salary, correct? Because he wants something close to what Deshaun got, but let's not forget Russ signed for a big deal as well this past offseason. So it's going to be somewhere in that range. And then it makes it tough for you to go out and pay the receiver that you need there. You mentioned Philly, it's easier. Jalen Hurts is on a rookie deal. So you can give the resources away to get A.J. Brown and pay him almost $20 million a year. For Baltimore, it's going to get tricky. They're going to have to do it through the draft, or they're going to have to find a steal somewhere along the free agency market where you get a guy who has high value and for whatever reason has dropped in price. So I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. I think Baltimore has missed some opportunities because they've drafted some guys that really haven't worked out. Duvernay, Perriman, Bateman. So they've missed along the way. Marquise Brown wasn't what they thought he was going to be, but then they also missed some opportunities, I think, on the trade market because as you talked about, guys like Stephon Diggs and A.J. Brown got traded. Those were opportunities to go get guys that could have fit with Lamar. You see Kadarius Toney in Kansas City right now. He was had for cheap. You could have made a move for a guy like Kadarius Toney who would have came in and validated the receiver position.
Yep, absolutely right. Again, shout out to everybody that's on the live right now, rocking with us. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys stay locked in with us. We are on TV every Thursday night in New York City, right here in New York. Verizon 43, 8 to 9 p.m. every Thursday night. And of course, we're live on, we were live yesterday and today, but usually we're live on Friday nights, and then of course Sunday mornings. We got so much content that we gotta put out this year. So make sure you guys are tuned in with us. Like that Facebook page, facebook.com/Real Fans Real Talk. You see the Twitter and the Instagram is on the screen right now at Real Fan Talk. And of course, subscribe to that YouTube channel, youtube.com/For the Fans Productions. Again, we got a whole lot in store for you guys. Let's see what we got next on the agenda. Monday Night Football. Tampa Bay versus another team that thought it was cool to play all of their starters in week 18. Fortunately for them, nobody got injured, but they looked horrible. I don't know where the confidence level is right now going into this game against the GOAT and all that Brady magic that you might have to face, and a team that also beat you guys to start the season off. I don't know where this thing is going. I think this is a coin toss game, to be honest with you, though, Eric. But talk to me, man. Who are you taking in this game?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's an even matchup. I think the line is a little disrespectful because they got Dallas favored by 2.5. And I know Tampa and specifically Brady haven't looked like themselves most of the season, but Dallas really hasn't looked good since they've gone back to Dak Prescott. And let's keep it a buck. Dallas actually looked better with Cooper Rush as the quarterback when they were just running the ball and feeding off that with the play action. So I'm going with Tampa in this game, to be honest. I don't trust Dak in a playoff game. I don't trust Mike McCarthy. We talk about coaching matters. I like Tampa and what some people would consider an upset. For me, I don't consider it an upset because I don't think Dallas has looked good for quite some time now.
You know what, Eric? I could not agree with you more, my brother. I just by looking at what we saw from the Cowboys. First of all, let's go back, a couple of weeks, right? The Eagles game. No Jalen Hurts, and you have a chance to really make a statement against the Eagles, and the game is just competitive. That's it. You get the win, but it's like, hold on. For all we've spoken about this defense, and don't get it twisted. I love Micah Parsons. I think he is one of the best young defenders in football right now. I think he's going to be that for a couple of years. But from all the talk that I heard about the Cowboys defense this season, y'all let the backup quarterback come in and basically do the same thing damn near that Jalen Hurts could have done. Obviously, he's not running the football like Jalen Hurts, but I mean, I think he put up 355 yards on Dallas, a couple of touchdowns, and then now we look at this last week game. You for whatever reason, you guys decided to play all your starters, and they looked horrible.
And let's not forget the Commanders played their third string quarterback.
On top of that, you're going against
with the division on the line too. I don't want to hear from people that Dallas had nothing to play for. Dallas had an outside shot of winning the division if they could beat the Commanders that day. So there should have been more than enough motivation to show up in that game. They didn't.
Yes, and then I go back the Jacksonville game a couple of weeks ago. How did that game end? With a pick six from Dak Prescott. this team, I don't know. You have two solid running backs. Tony Pollard, obviously, he's on the uptick. Zeke, maybe on the downswing, but you got CeeDee Lamb out there. You gave Dak Prescott $40+ million a year for moments like these, and he has disappointed time and time again. And now you're telling me you want me to pick the Cowboys going into a game at Tampa when Tampa has already beaten you this year, and that wasn't one of the games Cooper Rush played in, even though, and he actually played solid during that stretch. This was a game at the beginning of the season when actually the Cowboys were probably more healthy than Tampa was in that week one matchup.
Yeah, and I mean, Dallas scored 3 points.
Yeah.
With Dak Prescott. That's why I don't understand where this confidence is. Dak hasn't looked good. And correct me if I'm wrong, and Will, I know you in the chat as well. Let me know. I believe Dak is the first quarterback to like throw the amount of interceptions. So he's the first quarterback to only play 10 games but still throw more than 10 interceptions. I don't think that had ever been done before, that a guy who only played 10 games still had double-digit interceptions. I don't see the obsession with Dak at this point. Dak is who he is. And unless Dak shows me something different on Monday night, the Cowboys are going home. I don't see a way they win this game because the offense is too inconsistent. For whatever reason, ever since Dak came back from injury, they don't run the ball the way they used to. At one point, we had the discussion about Tony Pollard being running back number 1 in Dallas and how good the offense looked with Tony Pollard. But for whatever reason, they infatuated with throwing the ball around now, and Dak can't protect the ball.
I'm gonna tell you what it is. I started thinking about it because when we had the conversation earlier about young QBs getting the legit number 1 receiver, right? Remember a couple of years ago when the Cowboys brought in Amari Cooper, and we saw this. That's when everybody started talking about Dak when Amari Cooper got there, and Amari Cooper was beasting. He a lot of times these number 1 guys will make QBs look better. You had that matchup when you brought in CeeDee Lamb. You had the 1-2 punch, but then you let Amari Cooper go. Since Amari Cooper ain't there no more, to save you. Now you out here looking bad. And it's just, I'm sorry, but there's no part of me that says that going into Tampa, you are going to beat the GOAT in his house. I'm sorry. I can't see it. Cowboy fans, I'm sorry. Skip Bayless and whoever else, Jerry Jones. I cannot pick Dallas going into this game right now. Nothing I've seen from them this season leads me to believe that they're gonna go on the road in the playoffs and win this game. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
how many playoff wins that got right now?
1.
So right now, Trevor Lawrence and Dak Prescott both got the same amount of playoff wins.
And Brock Purdy.
And God damn it.
Shout out to Will. We know that's Will's quarterback, Brock Purdy. Listen, if Tampa was facing anyone else, I'm not even gonna lie. If Tampa was facing the Giants, I'll put the money down on the Giants in a heartbeat. If Tampa was facing Seattle, I would have put Seattle down in a heartbeat. I just don't trust the Cowboys. There's nothing to trust about the Cowboys. This might be one of the biggest facades in all of the playoffs, because when you look at the Cowboys record and you're like, oh, they're 12-5. Most times you win 12 games, you're a really good team. But we just highlighted the moments when Dallas had an opportunity to show us they were a good team, and they didn't. And they lost games that they shouldn't have lost, or they struggled in games they shouldn't have struggled in. So for all the talk about how good this defense was early in the year, I think they struggle again. And I wouldn't even be surprised if we see maybe a couple touchdowns scored on Trayvon Diggs, because he's super aggressive. And I wouldn't be surprised if Tom sends a couple guys that way on some double moves to get open on Trayvon Diggs and score over the top on him.
Hey, listen, we're talking about guys who are only 2 years removed from winning a Super Bowl in that offense. Mike Evans,
a lot of pride in that locker room.
Godwin, and I mean, we know how many damn rings Tom Brady got. So, listen, I'm looking so forward to football today and tomorrow night. I cannot wait.
Trip, I have to put this out there too, because it was a running joke that we had going on for a while. You know what would absolutely kill me on Monday, and I would have to just text you dying laughing if playoff Lenny shows up. If he finally worked himself into shape and playoff Lenny showed up, I would just lose it.
Bro, I was thinking that same thing. I don't know why, but for some reason I feel like Leonard Fournette is gonna have a good game.
Like he just waited all year for this moment.
For this moment. All right. Now, listen, I'll take it. I'll take the playoff win because at this point, is if you lose, you're going home. So you know what? If he waited all season to get in shape and get right for this one game, I'll take it.
Yes, I got Tampa. You got Tampa as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And Will saying Dallas in a close game, 27-24. It's possible.
We'll saying Dallas. I don't know if that's partially his bias for his coaching needs for the future.
Of course.
So
Of
I don't
course.
know. But I got to take Tampa in this one. Really quick because we run a little bit low on time. NBA news. Kevin Durant is going to be out for a month now. Knee injury. I don't even know what the hell to say to that, man. This again, I said it yesterday. I feel like this is deja vu. We've been here before. The Nets was in first place a season ago. Kevin Durant injures his knee, and we know what happens from that point. Here we go again. The Nets on an uptick. They won 12 out of the last 13 games. On the uptick, looking at taking the number one spot with the Celtics kind of being up and down the last couple of weeks. Kevin Durant goes down with a knee injury. I don't know what to expect now, and it sucks because he literally went down with the knee injury right before they were supposed to play the Celtics, which would have been a very meaningful game because that then would determine, all right, who's going to stick in the number one seed in that moment. Obviously, the Celtics go on to win that game. They do play today. They have a very winnable game against OKC. Shout out to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But moving forward, Kevin Durant's going to be out a month. How do you think the Nets do over this next month?
It's going to be a struggle, man. Kyrie's going to do what he can to keep him afloat, but it's going to be a struggle. When we spoke about the Nets a week ago, Nets were a game and a half out of the number one spot. Now they're 3.5 back. We also have highlighted how tough the Atlantic Division is. Philly, Boston, the Knicks. So this is going to be a struggle for them right now. They're number 2 in record in the East. I think they're going to slip down a little bit. They'll still stay in the top 6, but we're going to see a drastic difference in how good the Nets were compared to how they're going to look now without Kevin Durant.
Yep. The time is now for Ben Simmons to step his game all the way up because they're going to need everything.
You mean the Ben Simmons who took one shot the other night?
Well, listen, I'm just saying he's going to step his game up. They ain't got nothing else right now. KD is out for a month. Ben Simmons got to step his game up. The plus, and the only real plus is that the Nets have played so good this past month, and they were able to jump so high in the rankings that I think that they'll be able to sustain as long as you still win the games that you're supposed to win, whether or not Kevin Durant is playing or not. I think they'll be in good shape. I don't see them dropping out of the top 5 within the next month. Just because again, part of that is All-Star week, so we get there's a break in there as well. So I think as long as they do, I don't see them dropping out of the top 5.
No, that's fair. I mean, right now it's a game and a half difference between Brooklyn, who's at number 2, and Cleveland, who's at number 5. So, all that is going to stay jumbled up. And I agree with some of what Will's saying as well. I think the world of Jacque Vaughn, we've talked about that in the past as well. But this, for the Nets, the struggle has just been that they can't just consistently stay together and stay healthy. From the day that KD and Kyrie have joined the Nets, it's been somebody out, right? Earlier this season, Kyrie missed some games. Now, when they just get rolling and like you said, they win the 12 out of 13, now KD got to miss some games. You know what I'm saying? And now you put pressure on Kyrie to have to be there day in, day out to lead you. I think, to a certain extent, like Will was saying, Kyrie can lead you and he will be unleashed. He will get his opportunity, but you need that consistency in the lineup. You need to have your guys consistently play together. For next week's show, I got to get the number together because I still don't think KD and Kyrie have even played 100 games together. And this is year 4.
And to be honest with you, with everything that went on with the Nets outside of basketball, I still believe the biggest reason that they haven't accomplished what they had the potential to accomplish is because of injuries.
Yeah.
Guys can't stay on the court. They cannot stay healthy and stay on the court for more than 2 months at a time. And so either it's Joe Harris is down, it's Ben Simmons is down, Kyrie is down, KD is down. When Harden was there, Harden was down.
Oh yeah, they had the best team in basketball 2 years ago. We know that. And in one series, they lost Harden and Kyrie.
Yeah. So They got to step their game up. Hopefully, guys can pull together. I do agree with Will in regards to the coaching of Jacques Vaughn, and you and I both have given him praise for the job that he's done replacing Steve Nash, and I think he can continue to hold down, but obviously there's nothing that you can do to replace a Kevin Durant. We're talking about an all-time great player, future Hall of Famer. There's nothing that you can really do to replace that except for just wait for time. Shout out to Ryan. I see Ryan just joined the live as well. All right, so Eric, in LA, we've been trying to push for trades.
Now, Will said he wanted Wizards talk. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that body that Julius Randle caught on Daniel Gafford the other night when the Knicks had to come into DC. I don't know if Will wants to talk about that.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that, Eric, but I was trying to wait for it because we got to talk about John Morant's poster too. So I was going to throw that up in there together with the posters that we saw this past week.
Oh, we saw some posters.
You know what? Let's just jump right into it. Shout out to John Morant. Shout out to Julius Randle. Both of those guys participated in the baptism this past week. I, I guess I got to take John Morant as the better one just because he's the smaller guy.
Yeah.
But I watched that play with Julian. I meant to hit you about that one, Eric, because I try to give you kudos. When they doing something right. Julius Randle caught one.
Oh yeah,
he caught a body. He definitely caught a body.
Listen, Julius has been playing exceptional. He's not going to make the All-Star game as we talked about because just the East is so stacked, and especially at the forward position, right? Because we already know, like we talked about, Tatum, KD, Embiid, Giannis. One of those guys is not going to start. So Julius is going to be the odd man out in general because he's just not going to make it. But he's played phenomenal. Ja is a little more impressive though because Ja pulled like some video game ish out when he cocked it back, pause, and it just and he caught two bodies this week because he got the one on the Spurs earlier this week as well. Ja Morant, he got to be stopped, man. Something got to be done about Ja Morant because he's getting a little too out of control. And then he had the nerve to tweet, tell these guys stop jumping unless they want to go viral. So he getting a little out of control, man.
Donovan Mitchell responded. He said, "Bro, why don't you just do the dunk contest at this point?"
Oh, he got to do
it. He has to. I don't know if he will because obviously the trend has been for the big stars to not do the dunk contest. So I don't know if he will. But I would love to see John Morant in the dunk contest.
And that block he had the other night too was crazy.
Yeah,
when he caught that joint at the top of the square. He's nasty, bro.
Yeah,
Ja's crazy right now.
I will say this though, because a lot of what I see in Ja Morant, I saw with Derrick Rose, and I want him to be careful because all that jumping out the gym, sometimes it don't always work out. It look good, but it don't always work out. So I just want him to be careful because again, we saw MVP in Chicago with Derrick Rose doing a lot of the things that we see Ja Morant. I think Ja Morant probably got a little bit more hops than Derrick Rose had, but we see a lot of that. So I just want him to be careful, with that because knees go and that's your game is predicated on that athleticism. It's going to be a big drop, especially because Ja Morant is not the greatest shooter. So you want to just be careful with that. Watch when you're coming down. Make sure you get down safely because I don't want to see that what happened with Derrick Rose happen to Ja Morant because I think he's one of the brightest young stars that this league has. I think he's the future of I think he's the now of this league, but he's also the future of this league. So I want him to stay healthy and continue to win and progress.
That's a fact. And as you mentioned, two body types, D Rose came in stock, he was solid.
Yeah.
Jaz is a slim dude, you know what I'm saying? So an injury to him could really change his game and everything. So we don't want that.
Yeah. Lakers trying to make some moves. They brought in a couple of veteran big men to work out. DeMarcus Cousins and Myers Leonard. I guess out of the two, if I had to pick one of them, I guess I would say Boogie. But for health concerns, I might want to go with Myers Leonard, who is probably a better shooter than Boogie. But it's still not the move that I was hoping that the Lakers made. I know I'm hearing so much going on with them. They're waiting for certain guys and trying to see what's going on. But do you like either one of these signings for the Lakers?
No. Just keep it a buck. No. Boogie can't stay healthy himself. He doesn't really provide what they need. Myers Leonard, last time we saw him, he was making derogatory comments on live that he was on, and he really wasn't helping out.
Video games, right? He was playing the
Yeah, he was playing video game. I mean, and mind you, that was what 3 years ago. So he wasn't really playing then. So I don't know what either one of those guys bring. I mean, Boogie maybe in the short term, because Boogie did look pretty good with Denver in his last stint with Denver. But that's not what the Lakers need. The Lakers need more shooting. They need more guys on the perimeter to space the floor. And Boogie doesn't give them that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still waiting on the Lakers to make these damn moves that they've been supposed to been making. You pissing me off. You pissing LeBron off. I got to get y'all ish together.
And you speak for LeBron. That's what. Listen, we figured it out. All right, LeBron tells you to put the message out there, so it don't sound like it's coming from Braun.
It's like Durant with his fake Twitter accounts. I gotta say it so that LeBron don't face the backlash. I can deal with it. You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
So hopefully they get it together though. Let's talk about this these sneakers with Jason Tatum and what happened with his sneakers. We had, and this is going back to when we were in the studio, we had a segment once, the top 5 worst sneakers of all time. Obviously, Jason Tatum, he might not even been in the league yet at that point when we had the top 5, but there were some images that were released in regards to Jason's Tatum's new sneaker, and let's just say the reviews were bad. They flamed them sneakers. Everybody was getting at them sneakers. However, Jason Tatum did make a statement and said that was fake news. Those weren't the sneakers. My question to you, Eric, do you think those really weren't the sneakers, or because they got such bad reviews, Jason Tatum said, "No, we got to scrap these and come up with a different design"?
It's possible that it happened. I was trying to find a picture of them because if it wasn't Nike that put it out, then I would probably have to agree, like it's probably fake, because Nike was the one who released the prototype for Ja's joint as well before we knew that it was, it was his sneaker. So, unless Nike co-signs it, I guess I gotta take him at his word and be like, that really wasn't the sneaker.
But I haven't heard Nike come out and say that wasn't the sneaker. I only heard him say it wasn't the sneaker.
Yeah, I gotta find the sneaker. I gotta look it up as we're talking about it right now.
I'll tell you one thing. You beyond Nike, y'all better not replace the Kyrie Irving sneakers with that, because that ain't gonna work. Y'all gonna have a problem selling sneakers, because I seen the pictures of them sneakers and it was not it. Those sneakers would definitely be. Matter of fact, Eric, we're gonna have to put together.
I see them right now.
We're gonna have to put together a new top 5 worst sneakers list.
Nah, that's the sneaker. That's the sneaker. I'm gonna say Jason Tatum. You lying? I'm looking at the sneaker. That's the sneaker. You know how I know that's a sneaker? Because it's Jordan Brand, and Jordan Brand. As much as I love Jordans themselves, retros especially, Jordan Brand does a terrible job with everybody else's sneaker. I said this before when Luka signed with them. Don't give him them joints y'all was giving Melo. No, because the joints y'all was giving Melo was trash.
I think Jordan, I love Jordan. That's the GOAT. But I think Jordan is a narcissist, and he doesn't want anybody to sign to the Jordan Brand to have sneakers that look better than his, because I have not once seen a Jordan Brand sneaker that like blew my mind. Not once. The only thing that came close back in the day, I remember the Eddie Jones sneakers. I did like those. Other than the Eddie Jones sneakers, I have not seen a Jordan Brand sneaker that I liked. I'm sorry.
Nah, there hasn't been one. The Russell Westbrook joints, trash. The Carmelo Anthony joints, trash. The Zion joints, borderline trash. Because the Zion joints ain't nice either. A lot of trash. All right. So Mike ain't slick. Mike ain't giving them the same designers that he got.
And you're not giving them it.
Yeah.
All right. Out of all of the guys that are top, ranking in sneaker sales, none of those guys are on Jordan. The top 3, I guess, right now would be LeBron is number 1, and I believe KD is 2 and Kyrie is 3. Well, at least Kyrie was 3. Now we got to see what it is.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
But none of those guys are on Jordan. Where's the designers that made the Jordans and that's making these guys sneakers, and why they not making?
Think of Hatfield and them dudes. They still with Nike. they with Nike, but they not working on the Jordan projects. Because like you said, Mike is like, nah. They be giving them prototypes that look similar, and they might be like, nah, get that out of here. Nah, he don't need that one. He don't need that one.
Yo, Mike is not playing. He don't want nobody to outshine his niggas. Like, Mike, you solidify, bro. Ain't nothing going replace at this point the Jordans, the classic, the 1 through 13s. I'm gonna say that right there. Those are going to be the most iconic series of sneakers ever. You have not played in 25 years, I believe it is now. And you still have the number one selling sneaker by a long shot. It's okay. You can let one of these young cats get a nice design.
But see, I don't understand why Mike doesn't. We've seen it with certain players. Melo had a pair, Ray Allen had a pair, where certain guys get player exclusive versions of retro Jordans, right? Like whether it be the 11s or the 3s. Why not roll them out that way? Why not give everybody their player exclusive? Like whatever your favorite silhouette is. Let's say if Jason Tatum said my favorite silhouette is the 11s. You give him a pair of 11s that are exclusive to Jason Tatum, and then you kind of use that to launch whatever his next sneaker is. So that way you kind of drum up a little interest, like, oh, I saw the Jason Tatum 11s. Now I might be interested in something else he got. But them joints that I just seen a picture of is trash, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what they like. See how they had the Kobe 9s with the purple and all of that. You got to do something like that. I agree with you 100%. Got to be something like that for the build up. But then you also got to come with a good sneaker design though too.
Yeah. Shout out to Will. Will, the 11s to me is always my favorites. The 11s, the 3s, the 7s. I mean, it's pretty much anything 1 through 13. But yeah, the 11s is always gonna be my number one.
Yeah. So
it's something about that patent leather, man. When you ain't fresh out the box, that patent leather.
I gotta see with Tatum. I don't know, man. I think Eric and I both think that's cap. We gonna see though. Maybe they might change the sneaker design, but for right now, I'm gonna call cap on that.
They call them the JT ones, and I think the JT stand for just trash because them joints is whack.
Trash.
What's
my man name? Bubba. Trash. Okay, that's what them joints are. Trash. All right. Really quick, this is gonna be the last basketball subject because we got to talk some boxing news. Another dub for the family. New York. We are at $16.2 billion in tickets for in sports betting for the year. Broke the record. Also broke the record for tax revenue. $693 million made as well. I know I'm a part of that $16 billion. Eric, you've been a part of that $16 billion. So I can say I contributed to that record. Listen, man, New York took a huge hit during COVID. And one thing I've noticed about New York, the way they are bringing the money back to the city, they got two things going right now that's bringing the money back to the city. One is sports betting, and two is recreational weed. They didn't open up the floodgates, and New York City has come to play.
Yeah, that's a fact, man. And I don't even think that number is accurate, to be honest. That's just what they recording off the apps.
Yes.
If you from New York, if you true New York, the way Trip and I are, you know there's a lot of money being exchanged in the back of the barbershops. There's a lot of money going on in the back of the barbershops.
Papi.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because if you go to the barbershop about 12 o'clock every day, you see that line of people already getting their tickets in for the day, especially on Sundays. So it's way more than that. But yeah, on the surface, that's what we're going to call it. We're going to call it that number right there.
We outside. Listen, man. I don't know why they didn't do this sooner. Y'all know New York is where the money is at. You know New Yorkers spend money on frivolous stuff all the damn time. Or if it's not clothes, if it's not food, if it's not travel, if it's extracurricular activities, we gonna place a bet on something. New Yorkers will bet on any damn thing. New Yorkers still betting on rooster and pigeon fights. Okay, we don't give a damn. If it's a bet to be made, New Yorkers is gonna make it.
We betting on it.
So big shout out to New York.
You heard Cameron paid in full. 5,000, you can't make it again. I'm paying for your paperback games here, man. We gonna bet on it.
Man, facts, man. Shout out to New York, man. We on the way back, man. Big shout out to New York. Big shout out to Brooklyn, man. Bruce Shoo Carrington went up to Verona, New York, and got the dub. Another win. Still undefeated, and that's family We spoke about this last week. We spoke about the fight coming up, and that man went to work. He did his job, got another victory. And I'm looking forward to seeing him back in the ring again, man. Big shout out to Shushu.
Absolutely. For those of you, if you haven't, go back. It was about a year ago. We got to speak with Bruce Carrington, bright young star in the sport of boxing. COVID robbed him of his opportunity to represent the country in the Olympics. But he's definitely a rising star in the game. Another win. And I thought last year he had two legitimate candidates for knockout of the year. I'm sure he's going to find another fight this year where he's going to give us a knockout of the year. Keep an eye out for the kid, man. He's really good.
Absolutely. We're gonna check the schedule and work on getting Shushu back on the show at some point this year. Let's see what the fight schedule looks like when he's gonna be back in the ring. Maybe we'll do something before his next fight. But we gotta have Shushu back on the show. Talking about these wins because that boy keep winning. So gotta love it, man. Big shout out to Shushu. Shout out to Brooklyn, man. We are here.
Brownsville.
Errol Spence is not going to be the fight that we wanted, but he is locked in for a fight in April. We're gonna have another big fight in April. Errol Spence Jr. will be fighting Keith Thurman this April. What's your thoughts on that one, Eric? I mean, I know this is a pre fight pick, but what do you think about this fight? I know it's not the fight we wanted.
Solid fight. We're waiting for Spence Crawford, but the politics are getting in the way. But nonetheless, it's still a solid fight. This isn't some bum that he's fighting. He's fighting a former world champion, guy who's still very dangerous in the welterweight division, and a guy himself who's trying to get back to a certain status. So I think it's going to be a really good fight. Errol Spence is the cream of the crop in the division, but Keith Thurman is nobody to just dismiss. You got to pay attention to him.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm disappointed again because it's not the fight that we wanted, and I get it. I know there's a lot of times we're not gonna get the fights that we want, but my early prediction is Errol Spence Jr. He's the hottest ticket right now. Respect to Keith Thurman, but he's kind of been up and down the past couple of years. So I think Errol Spence Jr. wins this one easily.
And I agree. It's early. I don't want to give too much of a prediction, but yeah.
We'll say he want to come to New York just to get a sandwich from the Ock.
Now we'll pull up. I already told him. You know what I'm saying? We taking him around the city, man. He's not just getting a sandwich from the Ock. We going to City Island. We bouncing around the city a little bit.
Don't listen when we bring Will to City Island. Please don't start fighting in City Island. We don't want to embarrass us ourselves.
We can't control the other people. That's City Island is a beast unto itself.
Oh, so that's just part of it. That's part of the city.
Just let Will know ahead of time, like your head just got to be on a swivel around here because it get a little wild sometimes. But that's why you always got to sit outside. People that don't know, that's why you sit outside in City Island, because inside there's enough videos of them chairs flying around.
Exactly. We got some baseball stuff that myself and Eric are going to be doing this year. I mean, we should bring Will out when we start taking care of that baseball stuff.
Absolutely, Will. Whenever you're ready, man. Whenever you get to the city, we out there. Trip and I'll be outside all summer, man. Whether hoops in the sun, we got to get back to hoops in the sun. Trip.
Yeah, we might have to come. Yeah, well, you might have to come up for the summer because you're gonna have to come around the city and because there's nothing like basketball in New York City over the summer.
Hoops in the sun, Rucker Park.
Yes.
Go over to Dykeman. Yeah.
Dykeman.
It's definitely an experience, man.
So we're gonna have to get you out for that as well. John Jones going to be back in the ring at UFC 285. He's going to be fighting Cyril Gane for the heavyweight belt. John Jones is my guy, man. It's unfortunate, that he's had the issues with drugs and being suspended and all of that. I still think he's the best in UFC though. And I think he goes and grabs his belt.
Yeah, I think he's the greatest UFC fighter ever. Things outside of the cage have kind of derailed his career. And we hope, starting with that's kind of been taken care of and addressed. But this is a tough fight, man. He's going right in. Like, John Jones hasn't fought in quite some time, and he's not taking a tune-up fight. He's going right for it. So it will be very interesting to see how he looks in his first fight back. I will definitely be tuned in for that fight because I think that's a very dangerous fight to come back to the UFC to.
He got some things he want to show and prove. He said he's coming back for everything they said he couldn't have, and I like it. I will be watching. That's going to be going down in March. Coming to the end of the program, do have some sad news. We want to send our condolences out to Georgia. Obviously, the world knows the beating that they put on TCU in the national championship game. Unfortunately, though, this week they lost an offensive lineman and one of their recruiters in a car crash. So we definitely want to send our condolences out to the family and friends of Georgia offensive lineman Devin Willock. Um, oh man, I I I, I hate that after becoming back-to-back champions for the first time since Alabama, dominating the national championship game the way they did, that we have to come back and talk about a story like this. The recruiter's name is Chandler Lecrae. Um, so condolences again to the family and friends of those two gentlemen.
Absolutely, man. Condolences and thoughts and prayers go out to them.
Thanks. All right, man. With that being said, first of all, again, yo, man, so much love today in the live. We truly appreciate you guys for supporting with us. I know we be bouncing around sometimes with the time, but the fact that you guys continue to find us and continue to log in, drop comments in the comment section for us, that is shows us nothing but love and support, and we're gonna always give that back to you guys. Make sure you guys are following us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter at Real Fan Talk, facebook.com/, for the fans productions. And I'm gonna throw the YouTube channel up on the screen right now so you guys can get the YouTube. And remember, if you guys are not in the New York City area on Thursday nights and you can't watch from 8 to 9 p.m. on Verizon 43, do not worry. All you have to do is go right there to that website, www.realfansrealtalk.com. Click that red button on the homepage and you can watch us from anywhere in the world. Also, make sure you guys are subscribed to the podcast. We got the Sanchez Show podcast. We got the Real Fans Real Talk podcast, also streaming on all major platforms. And for our grown and sexy family, we got the Shooting the Shit podcast. New episodes drop every Thursday and every Sunday. So make sure you guys are tuned in. Fridays, we are back on the lives. We are not stopping. I know football season is coming to a close, but we still got a lot of work that we got to do. And Sundays, we will be here with the lives as well. So make sure you guys are tuned in. I see we just got another comment back in the chat. Okay. Oh, that's my our biggest fan says peace and love. That's our biggest fan in the smallest package. Cause I think that's Aiden shouting us out.
Shout out to Aiden, man. I know it's a tall task, but maybe the Ravens could pull it through today. I know he's rooting for the Ravens, so hopefully they show up today.
Exactly. Hey man, make sure you got your Lamar Jackson jersey ready for tonight's game, man. Oh, but he says he's looking forward to his upcoming. Oh, okay. We got to check him out this season. Eric, you might have to come to one of Aiden's games because he's back next season.
That's a fact. I'm gonna make sure I'm in town and go to one of his games, man.
I bet. Eric, give us a final thought, man.
Hey, like you said, man, we thank everyone who takes the time to rock out with us, man. You could be anywhere in the world, man, but you're tuning in with us. We greatly appreciate it. Again, we'll be back next Friday for the live with the opinionated ones. Trip Young, myself, and Will Gordon will be on that one, and then next Sunday as well, the pregame leading up to kickoff. And again, just thank you guys. We really appreciate it, man, and just everybody stay safe out there.
Yes, sir. I'm calling for the Bing Bong parlay.
It's a big day for the Bing Bong.
It's a big day. I'm calling for it, man. But with that being said, for myself, Trip Young, my brother, my co-host, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games, we up out of here. Peace.